Gemini friends, I'm Annie Botticelli, and welcome to my Gemini June 2025 astrology horoscope forecast. It's a very exciting time this month when Jupiter, although it's moving away from your sign where it's been for the last year, it's moving into your financial sector, hopefully bringing expansion and growth and benevolence and luck to that arena for an entire year. We'll talk more about that soon. But we also have birthdays. We also have a massive amount of Gemini energy this month. Hygeia, the Sun, Mercury, and we've got a full moon in your opposing sign. So all of these things are very specifically affecting you. We'll talk about all of the details, plus what some of these other big changes with Saturn and Neptune moving into signs that are in a great angle for Gemini, what all this could mean for you. My intention is to equip you to have the best month and beyond possible by understanding the astrological factors that will be affecting you. This is for you if Gemini is your sun sign, your moon sign, your rising sign, or any other Gemini placement you're listening for. What I'm going to talk about here is part of your astrological picture. Very late degree Gemini friends, so birthdays like June 15th through the rest of the sign, or Gemini degrees, 23 degrees through the rest of the sign. I suggest you additionally listen to my Cancer report, as you very late degree friends will benefit from both readings. Okay, so let's see where we want to talk. Okay, I want to talk about the shorter term aspects first, and then we can build up to the longer term things that will be affecting you. This is birthday time for many of the Sun and Gemini friends. This is a time when the universe is especially receptive to your desires, to your wishes at this time, so make the most of your birthday wishes. This is a time when a lot of the movements that are closer to us, the personal planets they're called, are speaking your language. And when things speak our language, we can understand them better, right? Unless we happen to speak the other languages as well. But this is one of the exciting things about having planets move through your own sign or through your own element, is that there is just a flow to things that matches you. The energy this month is an upward spiral. That is the energy of Gemini. Gemini energy is all over the place. It's diverse in its interest. It can be scattered, but it's definitely wide in its scope. You know, a master, they say, jack of all trades. Not to say that Geminis can't also be masters at things. Certainly you can. But there is that interest level of having a diverse amount of things going on. You like the busyness. You like the interesting things. You don't want to be bored. You're restless. You're going to be very restless this month. But there will be plenty of opportunities to speak to that way of Gemini. Lots of social opportunities, virtual and online. Virtual and in person. You'll have lots of opportunities to move your body, to go places, to drive, to walk, to travel. A lot of things going on. You'll be spread in a lot of different directions. Gemini also rules the respiratory tract. So you've got to do a little bit more to stay well this month, perhaps, with running all over the place. So if you take supplements or have other wellness behaviors or habits, then this would be a good time to not slack from them and just overall protect that space, because it's just going to wear thin with all of the excitement and all of the new things. And speaking of which, this month is a month where a lot of new things can come in, and the new things that come in at this time could wind up being long-term. This is one of the few months of the year that we not only have no retrograde personal planets, most of the outer planets are direct as well, except Pluto. And we don't even have a shadow period for Mercury, Venus, or Mars. So just coming from a year where we had Venus and Mars retrograde, we've been going inward and backward. And as the analogy I like to use, the tides have been coming in for a long time. Gemini doesn't love that as much as just general movement, right? So you are going to love this time. And it could be a little overwhelming and you could need to ground, but it is your speed, basically. If you have to do something really important, make a big decision, a big move, a big sale, a big purchase. And with Jupiter moving into Cancer, there will be a strong focus on homes and housing and, your inner world and your family. Making big decisions at this point carries the energy of the tides going out. Okay, so what the time we just came from up until the middle of May, the tides were coming in. So every time you on the shore would try to put something out to sea, the tides would just bring it back to you. And if you were experimenting, if you were just playing around, if you're doing short-term things, then that's fine, which is what I had encouraged you to do. But now all of the research you've been doing, and by the way, this is going to be a very heavy research month. You'll be taking a lot of information in and putting a lot of information out. Studying, teaching, learning, it's all supercharged at this time. So if you've been compiling things over the retrogrades, this may be the time for your launch. And this would be a great time for your launch, because once we get into July, the shadow period for Mercury starts at the beginning of the month. We'll start to have a little bit of flow inward. The outer planets will start going retrograde again. So, there's a brief moment in time. It's about 6 weeks between the middle of May and all of June that this is just, wow, outward flowing very, very, very strongly. So, weddings, engagements, big parties, big plans, big travel, which you may find in the days around the June 11th. You're either planning a big trip or going somewhere, maybe far away, and you could be launching something as far as you're starting a new education program. Sagittarius also rules that education, or you could be teaching. So if you're trying to launch a class or something you're doing, those days around June 11th have extra power. And of course, June 9th is the day that Jupiter leaves your sign and goes into Cancer. So a couple more things I want to talk about here with the shorter term planets, and then we'll move on to that storyline. We've got all of this Gemini energy, and for Gemini, it accentuates your first house of Aries. This is a fire house. This is a house that goes well with your air energy. It is all about action, and it's perfectly aligned because I just told you that this is one of the best months in the whole year for taking action big and small and having that be supported and having it go far and wide. So you will be ready to change things. You will be ready for shifts. You will be ready to changes in your schedule, to changes in your life, and just overall, something new, a lot of things new. So this energy supports that. Also, Venus will be in Aries for a little longer, and you have a boost there. Okay, let's see. Before I go to Jupiter, while we're talking about Aries, I just want to also mention that recently Neptune and Saturn have gotten into Aries, and they're conjunct. So they're working together, which is very rare. Now, this is really good news for Gemini because we just came out of Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. Saturn was in Pisces for a few years, 2023 to, now it will pop back into Pisces and then come back to Aries. It's never going to be far enough away from Aries to not be influencing. So that's the point we need to know. Pisces energy for Gemini spins you out emotionally. The water doesn't flow naturally for you. It is a mutable energy like you are, but it spirals down. Okay, so you've had outer planets, Neptune for 14 years, Saturn for a few years, bringing a lot of emotion, in some ways bringing you down, not in a good way, in some ways grounding you. Okay, so this could be positive as well. But this centered around father figures, yourself as a father figure, authority figures, yourself establishing as an authority figure. And it was a crossroads time for you, for a long period of time where it was really putting pressure on your identity and you figuring out who you were, possibly through the lens that someone else was viewing you, where you were having trouble seeing yourself outside of how other people were seeing you, and they might not have been seeing you in a very positive way. So getting out from within that criticism or critical eye of yourself and others is something that's happening now. And so we've got 14 years of Neptune being in a great angle for Gemini placements. We've got several years of Saturn being in a great aspect for you as well. So Neptune is a spiritualizer. It's spiritualizing your friends and your groups. I do have a separate video on this, so I'm not going to go too much into it. Just look for Annie Botticelli, Neptune and Aries on my podcast or on YouTube. And I do also timestamp after I give you a general picture of what to expect. Now, Saturn is the grounder, is the creator, is the builder. And so you may notice that it also puts pressure on things, but Saturn is wanting to help you rebuild your relationship space from the perspective of friendships and groups and acquaintances and teams. So you're starting this coinciding spiritual process while you're starting a building process. So many of you are going to be rebuilding those groups and your alignments and your connections with people in a more spiritual way and a way that's more sustainable. So the things that you're building now, you may have forever, for the rest of your life, these things may be present. And there is this spiritualizing quality. Neptune also can have a dissolving quality where people who don't make the cut or who can't, be with you long term because, they're not on line with what you're trying to do or in line with what you're trying to do. You may notice a phasing out of different relationships as you ground in these new ones. Okay, so that is a theme that you will see very strongly at this time that will continue for a very long time to come. Okay, now let's talk about Jupiter. So when Jupiter moves into Cancer in June, it will be there for a year until June of 2026. This is really exciting for Gemini because this is your money sector. One time I did a project with my group in my apprentices in my astrology apprenticeship program, which you can see at beastropro.com, beastropro.com. And we looked at a lot of people who we know to have a lot of money. And a lot of those people had Jupiter in their second house natally. Now, this isn't a natal transit. Maybe you have it natally as well, which means you're having a Jupiter return. That's exciting. But this is in transit. Jupiter expands. It expands where it goes. And it's going to your money sector. So it increases the odds that your money is going to increase. Your spending may also increase. Your costs may also increase. And you may have to manage excessive spending because it will feel like really good to spend money when Jupiter is there. And some of the expenses may be out of your control. But this is happening. Benevolence, luck, growth, in your financial sector, in your emotional security sector, in your material security sector, just security in general. And moving through the sign of Cancer really speaks to that emotional security. Your home, your family, your housing circumstance is getting expanded. You're moving, or you're getting a second home, or you're beautifying the home you're in. You're blooming where you're planted. This is a very, very big tagline I'm liking to give to Jupiter in Cancer. Either you're going to expand and move to a different place, or you're going to be in different places, like, what is home to you could be expanded where you have multiple anchors, or you're blooming where you're planted. And things that you have put in over the last 12 years, you may be adding to those, or you may be starting new affiliations. Okay. This is fantastic for business. It's fantastic for money. It's fantastic for getting material items that you want. And it's fantastic for gardens and living in sync with the earth. So becoming more conscious of your effect on the earth and your connection to everything else, you may notice that that's expanding as well. Okay, so something I like to do is to give you some perspective by telling you when this happened before. So you can look back and say, oh, I remember the kinds of themes you're talking about expanding in those other years. So you can kind of get an idea from your own experience what may come at this time. So we'll say around June 2013 through July 2014. And I'll even dial it back to March. Something that I see is that there's this 3-month thing that goes on with Jupiter, where 3 months before it move into a different sign, it's really affecting in both places. So March, April, May of this year, you may notice home and family stuff expanding, housing stuff expanding. You may notice financial opportunities expanding, even though it didn't officially get there yet until this month. And similarly, it switched to Cancer in June 2013, but 3 months before that is March 2013. So think back to March 2013, all of the rest of 2013, the first half of 2014. What kind of home and family expansion happened at that time? Was a sibling added to the family? Was a child added to the family? Did you move? A lot of you probably will say yes to one of these things. Did you take on an in-law? Did you take on a new roommate? Did your home story expand in some way? Did your financial picture expand in some way? Probably it did. Or some of the other things that I listed. And now if you want to think back even further, go to around April 2001 to July. July is when it officially went into Cancer, but I'm giving that 3-month radius. So April of 2001 through August of 2002. What happened at that time? I know for me at that time, I started a real estate business, which got me out of the golden handcuffs of my corporate job, which I have been free from ever since, which is decades now. And that had to do with real estate, right? Because I started a real estate business. So that is the kind of thing that, in general people may see is some kind of expanded relationship with the real estate world, whether it's personal to you through a home or whether it's a business. You start a business having to do with homes, you start a business from your home, you start working from home, or something like that. So think back to those times and you'll have a better idea of what may happen from this. Now, also important to note, if something bad happened during that time, it doesn't necessarily mean that that will repeat, because we are in a unique set of stars now compared to where we were in those periods of time. But you'll see some general themes follow through if you think back to those times. Okay, so the last date of note, June 25th, we've got the new moon in Cancer. This adds to the storyline of new seeds of possibility for your finances, new seeds of possibility for home and family and housing. And, just an overall good time to set intentions and, really envision what you want to create from these transits. If you love the dates, go to AnnieHelpsYou.com, scroll down to the point where it says VIP community, free VIP community, put your name and email address in after you click on that, get the archive link in the welcome letter that comes into your inbox, and put June 2025 astrology in the search button from the archive link, and you will find my monthly written star report with my sweet and salty dates. There are 2 outer planet transits that are, or aspects that are coming together that are influencing for a long time. I go into those. They will cover the whole month. I'll go into my favorite dates. This is an unusually busy month. We've got almost 30 connections between the planets at this time. So I go into my favorite ones and the ones to be most aware of and careful of. And I do that every month, 1 month early in this newsletter. Plus you get all of my content early. Now, we are in a time where Uranus will change signs next month. We just had Saturn, Neptune, Jupiter's changing signs, and very recently we had Pluto change signs. It's very strange it's unusual in our lives that we have so many outer planets change at once because they have all different cycles. So if you want to understand more for yourself and also the general but personalized to your chart, what these outer planet changes mean for you, go to AnnieBClarity.com. Annie, the letter B, clarity.com, and get your personalized outer planet transit report based on your chart. Plus, I go into more details about the general transits and the changes that are happening as those planets change signs. If you want to study astrology and you resonate with how I teach, June is a banner month for education and it's a banner month for starting something new. Go to beastropro.com, beastropro.com to see my astrology certification course. I hope you have a wonderful month and I'll see you next month. Bye.